Welcome, everyone. My name is Vicki Dawn, and I'm a professor in the education department here at Robert Morris University. It's a private university outside of Pittsburgh, PA. And I'm going to be joined today by my colleagues, Mary Hansen and John Zenchak. And we're excited to be here today to share some of the ways that our university prepares special education teacher candidates to use instructional technology and assistive technology in the online and hybrid environments.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mary Hansen, and I am a professor in the education department at Robert Morris University. I wanted to share some information about the research we've conducted at RMU on the importance of preparing special education teachers to use educational technologies and assistive technology. Through our research studies, special educators tell us that they have taken an average of one computer or technology class and one class totally or significantly addressing assistive technology in their teacher preparation program. And the number of technology and AT courses hasn't changed much over the last 15 years. Additionally, faculty and administrators from special education teacher preparation programs report little training or integration of online instruction skills and practices in their preparation programs. This lack of training hinders technology integration and AT implementation across environments. These issues were brought to light during COVID. During this time, to provide instruction, most special education teachers were tasked with providing virtual or online instruction to students with a disability, when previously only 10 to 14% of teachers indicated they had taught a class online. Since the school buildings reopened and to the present date, teachers continue to provide virtual, online, or hybrid instruction to students with a disability. Teaching in different modalities with various technologies can be challenging as the technology skills of students with disabilities varies greatly. Special educators tell us that although the majority of their students can perform basic computer tasks, such as turning on the computer or iPad, using a mouse or finger to drag, scroll, or select, they need explicit instruction on how to use more advanced tools and accessibility features, such as text-to-speech or speech-to-text. The responsibility for providing in-person and online instruction in how to use technology and AT may be shared between the general education teachers, special education teachers, speech and language pathologists, occupational therapists, and paraprofessionals. Therefore, training in this area is very important, and we'd like to share some of the ways that this training might be integrated in teacher preparation programs.
Hello, I'm John Zenchak, an RMU Education Department faculty member and the course leader for Integrating Instructional Technology, a dedicated educational technology course that's required of all our teacher education candidates. The course has recently been revised to focus on the now necessary integration of technology that is a part of all teaching and learning. The TPACK, or Technological, Pedagogical, and Content Knowledge Framework, as illustrated by the model diagram on this slide, provides the theoretical basis for this integration process. You may want to check out the CITL TPACK webinar for specifics on using the TPACK framework. RMU teacher candidates learn about technological integration. They also learn about instructional modalities that include the unique features of and the significant issues related to on-ground teaching and learning, and online teaching and learning both synchronously and asynchronously. They also learn to research, plan for, design, and locate or develop materials, learning activities and assessments, all for the benefit of effective instruction and student learning. On this slide, you'll see several of the integrating technology, instructional technology course outcome statements, those that are directly related to integrating technology that are most pertinent to addressing the needs of all students, including students with disabilities or special needs. I am going to provide 3 example course assessments over the following several slides that illustrate technology integration, particularly as it relates to addressing the learning needs of students with disabilities. The first is an online discussion to debate whether online learning discriminates against students with disabilities. This involves research required for the debate on the part of the students. The last two, or second two, are activities. An activity to develop a daily flipped classroom lesson plan, focusing on the use of technology and adaptations necessary for students with disabilities, regardless of whether this lesson plan will be used in an on-ground class or an online class. And the last, an activity to create a request of school district personnel for assistive technology that may be needed to accommodate students with a specific disability. This slide shows an example of the online discussion that I just mentioned and requires the student to conduct and explain related research. The assignment is addressed with an asynchronous online discussion forum. This discussion really aims to introduce some of the essential concerns that regarding accommodating special needs for students in all environments, including online environments. I'll give you a few minutes to take a look at the instructions for the online discussion. Note also that I've included the related course outcome statements for which this online discussion helps to address. Okay, a second example of a critical course assignment involves online lesson planning that emphasizes articulating the technology that's used during the lesson by both the instructor and the technology that may be required to be used by the students, and explaining any accommodations necessary with students requiring special accommodations to complete the lesson. From a course design perspective, students learn to design their lessons to ensure that a student with a disability can take full advantage of the learning opportunities provided in the same way that a student without a disability will. It's not appropriate to wait until you have a student with a disability to make the content accessible. So therefore, we emphasize a proactive approach when planning instruction, especially for those with special needs. This is a standard two-page RMU lesson plan template that students use to complete lesson plans in various courses, and certainly to complete the lesson plan assignment in this course, which focuses on comprehensive completion of two highlighted sections in particular, the use of technology section and the adaptation section. Notice that both of those are highlighted in the red boxes, and on the next slide, we'll take a look at them in a little bit more detail. The template, as I mentioned, includes various sections, many sections actually, but one of the sections requires identifying the technology used by the instructor and/or the students during the lesson, and the other requires explaining how to accommodate the needs of any one or several students with a disability or disabilities, or those having special needs. And this slide illustrates those lesson sections that I just referenced and explained. Note that the italicized text here is included in the lesson plan template as instructions for students when they complete the various sections. The italicized text will be removed and replaced with the appropriate detail required. As indicated in the course outcome statements provided on an earlier presented slide, one primary objective of the course is conducting the necessary research to make effective decisions about finding or developing instructional materials accessible to everyone. Understanding the ADA requirements regarding compliance in both on-ground and online environments is really very essential. Teachers teacher choices of appropriate assistive technology hardware and software can address many ADA requirements and also be in alignment with universal design for learning principles and features. So this third assignment example affords students an integrated research, planning, and practical application opportunity. The instructions are a little bit more involved for the assistive technology activity, 5 steps here. I'll give you a moment to look through them. This is a continuation of the assistive technology activity, a list of disabilities from which the teacher candidate will choose to complete their activity. So this ends my presentation of several example assessments from a general technology course required of all teacher candidates at RMU. My goal was to have these 3 examples illustrate how a technology course designed for teacher candidates must now focus on integrating and using technology to benefit all students, including those with disabilities and special needs.
Throughout the program, special education teacher candidates become familiar with this Council for Exceptional Children's high leverage practices. These are fundamental special education techniques that all special education teachers should practice across educational settings and instructional modalities. And the one applicable to this webinar is High Leverage Practice 19, using assistive and instructional technologies. The CEC website hosts information and videos on this high leverage practice. In their introductory special education courses, teacher candidates become familiar with the Individuals with Disability Education Act and its definition of assistive technology. As teacher candidates then discuss the various disabilities, they research AT devices along the technology continuum of low-tech to high-tech. Teacher candidates also utilize the Student Environment Tasks and Tools model, or the SET model, for the consideration of assistive technology in the online environments, as this model not only guides the team through the initial evaluation, but guides them through frequently reviewing the AT needs of students. The Council of Exceptional Children website has information, including a webinar, on the SET model for evaluating AT remotely. It is important that special education teacher candidates understand how AT needs are documented in the individual education program. Every IEP is required to have a statement of the needed assistive technology supports and the settings for those supports. Some AT can be used the same way in both face-to-face and online instruction. So for example, fidgets or splints, you'll see those the same regardless of the instructional modality. Other AT may have the same function, but they vary in the device based on the instructional environment. So for example, highlighting text with a highlighter in printed text and using a highlighting tool for online text, or using a calculator in face-to-face instruction and an on-screen calculator for online instruction. So this slide shows websites that provide modules for teacher candidates that they can complete on including AT in the IEP. The theories and foundational information, that's important. However, it's equally important that teacher candidates have access to and use AT devices. And one way to do this is through an assistive technology lab. So one of the lab activities involves AT for computer accessibility. Teacher candidates progress through a series of activities while using AT, such as a time timer, adaptive keyboard, typing color overlays, switches, and pointers. And in this lab, they also consider the differences in computer assistive technology based on the instructional modality. So for example, will students in the online environment be using a physical time timer or an app? So will they have access to these various switches or adapted keyboards at home? So these are important considerations for online instruction. Additionally, the steps in accessing content may be different in the online classroom. So for example, the steps for logging on to the learning management system and using the video conferencing platforms may vary. So step-by-step directions or picture schedules may be useful AT for computer accessibility for some students. In the lab, the teacher candidates also experiment with the Windows built-in accessibility or ease of use features. So as shown here, you can see that the features vary slightly by the version of Windows. Use of AT is important for many students with disabilities in order to effectively use the technology to actively engage in the hybrid and online environments. Another lab activity involves AT for reading text, and activities within the lab involve AT for both printed and for digital text. So for printed text, the AT includes reading pens, adapted books, reading guides, and highlighters. For the digital text, we look at the accessibility features to change the color screen font sizes, or change the colors or the screen font sizes, add screen magnification, and convert text to speech. So they practice converting the text to speech using various programs. To illustrate the process for enabling this text to speech conversion, we see that it's going to vary by the device, the source of the text, and the operating system. So for example, to have text in a Word document read aloud, users select Review, Read Aloud, and Play. To have text read aloud on an iPad or an iPhone, it's a little different. They select Speak Screen and Speak Selection. Those two must be activated on the device. So to do that, the user simply selects Settings, Accessibility, and Spoken Content. Then they turn on the screen and speak selections just by toggling the button to the right. Then when the user wants text read aloud, they just swipe with their two fingers from the top of the screen to the bottom, and the playback menu will appear. Then they can select Play. Technology can also be used to provide scaffolded supports to promote active engagement. And these are high leverage practices 15, 18, and 19. And so we're going to illustrate these through some of the activities that we do in math methods. Explicit instruction involves the concrete representation on abstract instructional approaches. And these are used to build concept knowledge and provide multiple opportunities for practice in math. So we use physical math manipulations and virtual math manipulations, and these may be considered AT. So for example, students work with fractions in the abstract, visual, and concrete representations. So teacher candidates practice with the physical math manipulatives for fractions, such as fraction strips. Then they practice with the virtual fraction strips, and there are several websites for free interactive fraction strips. We also want to make sure that when we're teaching fractions, we illustrate them in multiple ways, right? So we also work with physical and virtual fraction circles, and these are sample websites for those virtual manipulatives. Another great math manipulative is the geoboard. And the geoboard has a series of pegs, and you use rubber bands, or as in Pittsburgh, we say gum bands, to create shapes on the board. And so we can use the geoboards to explore shapes, areas, perimeters, angles, and fractions. So again, there are free virtual geoboards that students in the online environment can use. Students can work on solving algebraic equations using algebra tiles or virtual algebra tiles, and our teacher candidates practice activities with each manipulative. So if you would like additional information on multiple representations, you might want to check out Module 4, Part 2, Multiple Representations from the National Center on Intensive Intervention. They have a great video series. The websites listed here also provide AT virtual manipulatives that can be used in the online instruction and many different math concepts. In our low incidence class, teacher candidates work with various AT for writing, and this might include pencil grips, alternative writing utensils, adaptive papers, slant boards, adaptive seats, graphic organizers, and speech to text. And the speech to text would be one of the helpful tools in AT for online environments. So each software package has slightly different directions for speech to text, but they're all fairly easy. For example, for Google Docs, you select the Tools tab, select Voice Typing, and select the microphone icon. The red icon is shown, and that will show that you are in the record mode. Then you simply talk and then select the microphone when you're finished to stop recording. So in summary, teacher candidates in special education preparation programs should recognize that AT should be considered for all students with disabilities. And to determine the appropriate AT for any instructional setting, the IEP team should collaborate on assessing the needs of students and documenting those needs on the IEP. The entire team may need training on the AT device and how to use it in the online environment, and that should be addressed as well. So these are just a few of the AT considerations and AT examples for hybrid or online instruction for students with disabilities. Thank you so much for watching.